Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams Mataji.
Chandra Pranam, Hare Krishna. Let's start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaudirayed Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 6th Canto, Chapter 10, verse number 12. Venkat Narasimha Prabhuji, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yataksha sumuno buddhi tattvadrugsta dvasta bandhanha astita paramam yogam nadeham bubudhe gatam. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you. Madhu May Krishna Kanta Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams Mataji.
Chandra Pranam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Yataksha Sumano Buddhis Tattvadrugdvasta Bandhanaha Astitaha Paramam Yogam Nadeham Bubudhe Gatam. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Usha Devati Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, pranams Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yataksha asuna mana buddhi tattvadrig dvasta bandhana astita paramam yogam nadeham bhuvute gatam. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Madhu Soni Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat pranams Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Yataksha Sumano Buddhi Tattvadrikadvasta Bandhanaha Asthitaha Paramam Yogam Nadeham Bubudhe Gatam. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Usha Bhatt Mataji, Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय यताक्षा सुमनो बुद्धिः तत्तदृग्ध्वस्तबन्धनः आस्थितः परमं योगं न देहं बुबुधे गतं. थैंक यू माताजी. हरे कृष्ण.
Krishna. यथाक्षाशो मनुबुद्धिस् तत्त्वादृग्द्वष्टबन्धना आस्थिता परमं योगं न देहं बुबुधे गतम्. Yata controlled. Aksha senses. Asu the life air. Mana the mind. Buddhi intelligence. Tattvadrik one who knows the tattvas, the material and spiritual energies. Dvashtabandhanaha, liberated from bondage. Asthitaha, being situated in. Paramam, the supreme. Yogam, absorption, trance. Na, not. Deham, the material body. Bubudhe, perceived. Gatam, left. Translation by His Divine Grace Shabad Ki Jai. Dadiji Muni controlled his senses, life force, mind, and intelligence and became absorbed in trance. Thus he cut all his material bonds. He could not perceive how his material body became separated from his self. Hare Krishna, sorry. Purport by His Divine Grace Shabad Ki Jai. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, verse 5, Antakale cha mam eva smaran mukta kalevaram ya prayati samadbhavam ya ati na asti atra sanshayah. Whoever at the time of death quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Of course, one must practice before one is overcome by death. But the perfect yogi, namely the devotee, dies in trance, thinking of Krishna. He does not feel his material body being separated from his soul. The soul is immediately transferred to the spiritual world. Takta deham punar janma neti mam eti. The soul does not enter the womb of a material mother again, but is transferred back home, back to Godhead. This yoga, Bhakti Yoga, is the highest yoga system as explained by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, verse 47. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaterantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam yo me yuktatmato mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The Bhakti Yogi always thinks of Krishna, and therefore at the time of death he can very easily transfer himself to Krishna Lok without even perceiving the pains of death. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyan Anjan Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Krishna Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahiyam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantha Radha Kantha Namaste. Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishbhanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriya. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव सादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमः ओम विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य दिशाय. Hare Krishna. Sorry. The Dichi Muni controlled his senses, life force, mind, and intelligence, and became absorbed in trance. Thus he cut all his material bonds. He could not perceive how his material body became separated from his self. Okay, this is the last verse explaining how the Dichi Muni left his body. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, which is called as the Prescribed Duties for the Mankind, chapter 10, which is called as the Battle
between the demigods and Viprasura.
Krishna. Very nice. The demigods and Vritsasura. And I explained why the chapter is named Demigods and Vritsasura and why not demigods and demons. Because we will study later that all the demons flee away. They from Krishna, from the demigods. They could not stay the bolts or the challenges that the demigods were giving them. And Vritsasura had to fight Indra alone. We have been studying that how the Dichi Muni was able to meditate his mind at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that meditation, he was able to separate his material elements from the spiritual element of his existence, or he himself as spirit soul from the material elements. And then that's how, and then what happens? He became absorbed in trance. And then he cut all his material bonds. So basically, the soul is entangled in the material world and because of the material bonds. And these bonds are in what modes of nature? What are the modes that define the bonds that we have? Every lifespan there are bonds. What are the material modes of nature? Do you remember?
Rasam.
Tamasic.
Sattva rajastama gunavati.
Very nice. So Sattva, Rajas, and Tamal. Or sorry, the goodness, passion, and ignorance. So all the three modes are binding. Okay. So the soul is covered by the subtle body, which is made of mind, intelligence, and false ego, which in turn is covered by the gross body, which we can see, which is made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. But the soul actually does not need the gross body or the subtle body. But here is the secret given. The secret given is that we are covered because I have material bonds of my identification with the material element. Like I am of something here. Right? We can study this in, what is the most popular sport in India? This cricket match, right? So whenever there is a cricket match, we can study that how patriotic the entire country becomes. It's like, okay, India should win the match. India should, yes, you feel that sense of patriotism in the air.
Yes, Mataji.
Invariably, you'll feel that, especially if they are playing against a very riverless, so-called riverless country. So that is exhibition of a material bond. There's an exhibition of a material bond that where our bonds are sitting. In our day-to-day life, and of course, in major events in our life, we get face to face with these bonds. Because in our day-to-day life, a person is just going, flowing with the wind. Like 13th chapter Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that as the wind carries the aroma, so the mind carries the subtle body carries the soul. The subtle body carries the impression from the last birth, and it carries the soul to the next body, according to what the impressions are made now in this particular moment. Like that, we come face to face with our impressions that are there in the mind. We cannot see the mind, but there are impressions, and because it is so subtle, subtler than the ether. Okay, it is subtle. There is no limit to how big it can be. I'll give you an example. This is a big topic of discussion in the secular world also. You see, in the olden ages, maybe we can say 70 years ago, 100 years ago, not so far ago, let's not go farther than that, beyond that period, people led a simple life. They had a particular schedule of work. And when they were home, it was not the work, it was a home environment. And then they were not absorbed in watching over the television because there were interactions with people in the family or outside the family. Yes or no? Or the temples were crowded, right? Every day, evening and morning, people could go to temple, and there would be events which the community would do together. Yes or no?
Mataji.
Mataji.
Yes. So, but then you see, now we are, so-called very united, but actually we are getting more and more lonely. How? Because our human-to-human connection is limited, but our ethereal existence is increasing. Ether carries the sound, right? And the waves of the sound. So this internet or all these far and wide places, the information exchange that's going on all the time in the ethereal space, because it is so unlimited. The sky is unlimited. We cannot put a limit. We cannot put a measurement on the sky. It's unlimited. So the information that it can contain is also unlimited. But my brain mechanically is limited. So there is a mismatch between what's out there and what's I can contain. So there are newly diagnosed things called fear of missing out, right? Of course, they're gonna miss out on something all the time because there's so much to capture. The reason why I'm saying this is because we are initially, if a person was carrying 10 impressions in their mind, now there are millions of impressions because there is so much available to imbibe in the mind. So we are actually placing ourselves in a more and more network of entanglements, more and more network of entanglements. And this was predicted, right? This was Prabhupada's morning walk. His morning walk of Prabhupada, where Prabhupada is explaining that how the memory of the people in Kali Yuga will go down. And how they will become short-lived. So this is the memory will go down, they will be short-lived, and they'll always be very, very disturbed. This is the symptom of Kali Yuga, people who are living in Kali Yuga. That's how the age is going to progress. So one disciple of Prabhupada asked him in that particular walk that, Prabhupada, because the memory is going to go down, is that why all these devices are coming into existence? All these storage devices, the hard drive, the soft drive, the computer, this, that. So Prabhupada said, yes. So, we don't study that Vyasdev sat in front of this famous, this many TB storage device and wrote Srimad Bhagavatam. He wrote it from the memory. We don't study that. But in the present age, because the memory is reducing, these devices, the mother nature is bringing forth. And we are calling it as development. You see how contradictory the picture is of what the reality is and what we are perceiving as a reality. So that is why Shastras are so important. Why I'm saying this is because it is mentioned that whatever we are thinking at the time of death, that's where we're going to transfer. So we can know what the impression of the mind is right now, depending on what are we exposing the mind to. Even though one may be chanting Hare Krishna, one may still be exposing the mind to all these subtleties of the world because it is so easily accessible. I don't know, somebody was telling me that there are channels where you can become a content creator. You can make your content and then you can earn money from that. Okay, it looks like a very easy, what do you say, easy job to earn money, but it is so complicated for the mind, so complicated if it is not connected to Krishna. If it is connected to Krishna, then it becomes, valuable. We studied that. But if it is not connected to Krishna, imagine the mind is getting so many subtle impressions as to how to go about in this world, and study the marketing. You know how marketing people in the different goods, they study, right? They study the market, that what is it that the people are buying the most, and what is it that we can old thing in a new packet, and how can we present it to the market. So imagine that getting absorbed in all those things and then increasing one's own material bondage. If we do it for Krishna, fine. Then actually the same thing is going to help us to get out of the material bondage, because that's why the thing is there. But if we are not doing it for Krishna, we are getting entangled. Whether we like it or not, doesn't matter. It is going to happen. So here we are studying this Muni, the Dichi Muni, who actually controlled his life force. He could control his life force, the movement of his life force, where it's gonna go. He could control his senses. It's not that something has been brought forth in front of the eyes and the eyes cannot, no, just like say no, or something has been brought forth in front of the tongue and now the tongue cannot say no to taste it. Right? So, or something has come about in the mind that has to come out from the tongue without thinking. No, he could control. He could separate himself and actually fix his mind in trance at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and transfer himself, cut his material bonds. Imagine studying this subtle science and imagine the situation where each one of us are in right now, in the reality of life. Just imagine the two different scenarios and how opposite they are. Okay, it cannot go hand in hand. We cannot be doing sense gratification or putting ourselves in the middle of this ethereal information and also becoming Krishna conscious if the latter is not connected to Krishna consciousness. Even if it is connected to Krishna consciousness, it is still, how much can you watch on a screen? How much can you go on creating? You need to have a very strong sadhana, very, very strong sadhana, and on one's own self, very strong service, where that one is actually, one is actually very much attached to the service. One service, just get attached to one service. Don't need to do 10. If you can do 10, that's great. But if you can do one, and can do it like better and better and better each and every passing day, our life is perfect. Okay, just one, but pick one. There's so many ways we can serve Krishna. Don't lose the opportunity by getting absorbed in something which is not meaningful. I was reading the article my friend wrote on spiritualizing the digital media. She was writing that this is a very like common context, saying that you know what, all these things are there on the internet and on all these different channels or social media. It is up to you what you want to choose. It's up to you. She said it doesn't work like that. She said there is nothing neutral in this world. There's nothing neutral. She said even water, if we say that it is neutral, it is not neutral because water has a quality of wetness. So how is it neutral? Because there is an opposite quality of dryness. So it's not neutral. So there is nothing which is neutral. The modes are acting. In whatever action we are doing, we are in the modes of material nature. Even our bhakti is in the modes of material nature, right? Kapila Muni explains this to his mother in third canto, how the bhakti in different modes of material nature is. So even our bhakti is in the modes of material nature. Yes, by practicing Krishna consciousness, the same bhakti can actually take us out of the modes, but right now it is. So there is nothing neutral. Don't think that I'm going to bring myself into such a situation and then I will not be impacted. No. Then we are actually challenging Krishna's statement. Prabhupada explains this very well. What is this? Devi hi esha gunamayi mama maya durattaya. Mamevaya prapadyante maya mitam tarantite. So Prabhupada explains this. Devi hi esha gunamayi mama maya durattaya. So it says my maya. When Prabhupada said, when Krishna says my Maya, understand that this is very powerful because Krishna is all powerful. And in this particular verse, the Maya is addressed as Devi or Devi Shakti or spiritual energy or energy of Krishna, which is very, very powerful. So we are very small. And the only way that we can become fixed in our Krishna consciousness is by following the instructions of the acharyas. If we are not going to follow the instructions of the acharyas and show some leniency by exposing ourselves or putting ourselves in positions, such as exposing ourselves to different information that is not needed in our life, we will get entangled. The mind will pick up it's like a sponge, the mind will pick up the information because the sponge picks up wherever you put it in the moisture, it picks up the moisture, even if it doesn't, because that's the nature. So for that, the only way is we need to have our goal defined, and the goal Krishna is giving us. The goal is also presented to us, and the goal is that try to fix your mind on Krishna. Fix, so that Prabhupada is writing here, one needs to practice. Of course, one must practice before one is overcome by death. Okay, so practice, practice, practice. Right now, we are practicing, but we are practicing how to live in this material world. So it's going on subconsciously. You don't understand because our normalcy of life is such that it just doesn't let us get out of this world. But now practice something which will help us overcome death. And that is by becoming more and more Krishna conscious. There is no place where the modes of material nature are not acting in this material world except the dham. And there too, if we are not absorbed in proper association or proper attitude, we can still get impacted. I heard the class by Swami Bhagavan Keshav Maharaj says that when we go to the dham, most of us, he said, we go say, okay, we're going to switch off our phones and we are just going to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness and chant 64 rounds a day or do so many things. But the minute one gets to the dham, it's like, oh, there is so much pollution. Oh, there is so much heat. Oh, where is my WhatsApp? Oh, what's the news today? You see, because the mind is trained like that. We can see that what we miss the most. The mind is trained. So to extricate oneself will also take another kind of a training. It's not going to happen in one go. All right. So understand that how elevated this soul is, the Dichi Muni, that he was not attracted to anything externally in this material world anymore, not even to his own body and mind. Forget about something else. Right? He said that the most dear thing to a person is its own body. That is the most dear thing. And then the body of other relatives and assets and so on and so forth. But he was not attached. Parikshit Maharaj was not attached. He said, okay, I'm going to have to give up this body, but let me use it for something sublime. He was not attached. He was not in pain when the snake bite came and bit him at the end of the 7 days. In fact, right before his death, he told Brihad Bhagavatamrita to his mother, the summary of all the things that he heard from Sukdev Goswami. He re-recited it to his mother, so that his mother can also become Krishna conscious. So where is our life going? We cannot say that I'm going to go with the flow. Because the flow has to be in the spiritual domain. So actually, Krishna consciousness is anti-flow, right? Anti is a revolution. What Prabhupada gives lecture on this verse. What is it? Yadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishloka bhaddavadapi namani anantasya yashovantakaniyas sharnavanti gayanti grihanti sadhva. Prabhupada explains Yadvag vipargo janataga viplavo. Prabhupada explains viplavo means revolution. So revolution, Srimad Bhagavatam is a revolution. And Prabhupada explains, I was hearing his class few days ago, he said revolution in general, we understand that a particular, that the particular thought process is being revolted against and some other thought process has been dominated, political thought process. Like this Indian Revolution, American Revolution. So it's like what is one political thought process has been overcome by another political thought process. So that's but in the similarly Srimad Bhagavatam he was saying Viplavo is like a revolution against the illusory energy, revolution of what's going on in our life in the present moment. So we are actually not going to be recognized as a normal person anymore if we are actually practicing Krishna consciousness. And if we are not recognized as a normal person anymore, then congratulations, we are on the right track. Because we don't want to be normal person of the world anymore because we are on a different path, anti-flow, and we are swimming against the stream. We are going upstream, not downstream. So the normal, idioms that go around in this world that go with the flow, or you can use the thing, okay, sit in front of the TV and what is there? You just see what you need and don't look at anything that you don't need. No. We don't play around with the modes of material nature. We use the material modes of nature to serve Krishna. And if it is not being used in the service of Krishna, then I am going to get the impressions. If I still can't give away because of still can't control because of the weakness of my heart, at least know that. At least know that I'm not practicing bhakti at the moment. At least know. Okay, at least feel repentful. At least, pray to Krishna for the strength in the heart. Just don't go with the flow. Okay, so see how opposite this culture is to the culture that we are situated in at present moment. How opposite. Here we are taught not even to get attached to our own body. And the culture that we are situated in is how can we make our body more and more comfortable, more and more comfortable. I'm telling you, I live in America. I see that we waste a lot. A lot. There is a lot of wastage that goes around here. I feel like, countries who, like, for example, what is that, North Korea? Or countries where there's so much malnutrition or people are not even getting 2 times meal a day. And this country, there is so much disparity. So much disparity. What is it? There's 2% population in the whole world, but 60% consumption of the whole world. Imagine like how much one person will have. I know I have a colleague, she has like 6 rice cookers. I said, what do you do with 6 rice cookers? She just works to collect. I am not finding fault or criticism. I am saying that, understand that why one is doing so much purchase, because one is trying to purchase happiness with the money. The idea is that I have money, so I have a buying power, so I can become more happy by possessing more, by possessing more, by possessing more. So everybody is trying to be happy. But then Krishna consciousness is teaching us that that is not what happiness is. Happiness is the function of the soul. Try to go inwards, chant Hare Krishna, follow the rules and regulations, eat simply, live simply, require less for the body. Okay, but it's anti-culture. There is so much mismatch. But we are not trying to find fault because it's so easy to find fault in this world. We are trying to protect ourselves. We are trying to make a informed decision and not go with the flow. That is the only reason a devotee tries to understand their position in the world. They are not here. We are not here to fix anything because Krishna has said, Dukhalyam Shashvatam. We are only here to serve Krishna and give Krishna, so that we can also leave our body like the Dichi Muni, such elevated soul that we can pray to give us the strength to follow the vows and austerities in Krishna consciousness, so that we can follow Krishna's instruction that when I'm leaving my body, this is going to be the final time and no more material birth ever again. I think I'll stop here. Any questions, reflections, realizations, or corrections? Understand that ethereal domain is so big, there's so much information, and understand that how the mind is like capturing all these information and impressions and leaving a very less scope for imbibing Krishna conscious knowledge, because we are so saturated already. So if we know this, then we can actually bring ourselves out of it by Krishna's mercy. It is the mercy factor only, that we know this. Not many people know this. It's by mercy only that we come to know about it. Questions, reflections,